Everybody, welcome to the Fire It Up with CJ show. Today we have Dr. Erica Elliott, and she is here talking about her book. Would you hold it up for us?
Yes,
It's
certainly.
Medicine and Miracles in the High Desert. My Life Among the Navajo People. And in the first segment, we are talking about her experience as a teacher. She spent 4.5 years there, part for the first 2.5 as a teacher and the next two as a doctor. And in that first segment, she was talking about some of her experiences visiting some of her students' homes, and there are two things that were just mind blowing for me, and I was wondering if you can share. One was an encounter you had heard about a shapeshifter, and then you had an experience, and it's something that people have a wild fascination. I have interviewed a bunch of different people, and I did a show on shape shifting into wolves or wolves, and that show has gone gangbusters. And so people have an incredible desire to know about shape shifting. I thought it was kind of a conceptual thing, not like a real life thing. So I was wondering if you can share that story, and if we have enough time after the 15 minutes, talk about some of the other ceremonies that you
Yeah,
witnessed.
yeah. Okay, so my kids in my class, they love to talk about werewolves, shapeshifters, ghosts, witchcraft. I mean, it was a source of huge, endless interest to them. And it was part of their culture, especially because they were so traditional. They had very little contact with white people except at the school.
Wait, and I just
And
want to note this is in the 1970s for people who are like, when did you do this? And right in
yeah,
the 1970s.
it
Okay, go
was
ahead.
50 years ago.
Right.
50 years ago.
With the Navajo people who are now called the Dene. So if you
The
people
net.
hear
That's
use
right.
both those terms, that's what it means. Okay,
That's
please
right.
excuse me.
Yeah. And so one day I was exploring the canyon. Back then, you didn't need a guide. You could go wherever you wanted. And I was a natural kind of rock climber type. So I was exploring. When I wasn't taking children home on the weekend, I was doing exploring the canyon. And I climbed up to a cave, and there was a pile of rocks there, and I had a feeling something was under those rocks. So I took apart the rocks, and there was a skeleton of the ancient people called Anasazi. And this it was a woman. It was sort of small skeleton. She had on yucca woven sandals
Wow.
and totally rotted blanket and some very primitive turquoise on a string. And so I looked at her and just thought, oh my God, I said a little prayer, and then I put all the rocks back. And then on Monday, I always shared everything with the students that I did, and they shared with me. We were just like became best friends. I mean, the students and me. And and so and so I told them, and they were terribly upset with me because of their relationship with death and so forth. And they said in Navajo, "Doba'i, that's really bad what you did. Now you have to have a ceremony to, because otherwise some bad things will befall you. You get really sick and you might die." So I had a little ceremony done, and and then they would tell me their stories about personal experience where they've seen shapeshifters, they've seen people turn into wolves. And so I thought, oh, that's really interesting, but it was so far from my culture, but I was totally open-minded. Then I had an experience that was so frightening to me. I had actually two experiences. One time, the first experience, I was driving to Gallup to get groceries. That's 2 hours away, and it was dark, and I was stop. I was coming to a stop at a stop sign, and as I was rolling to a stop, I almost hit somebody. They were trying to cross the street while and it person came up on my hood, and it was somebody with a skin bent over. That's what a werewolf does. They wear a skin, and he had a bare chest, and he sort of hunched over, and he looked at me, and I thought I was going to pass out. I was
Wait, so
so
he was on your hood of your car, like lunged
yeah,
on the hood of your car?
I was rolling. Thank God I wasn't going fast. I was
Yeah.
rolling, and he was trying to cross the street, and I didn't see him. And he went up on my hood, and we made eye contact like this. It was terrifying. I almost, I don't know what. My heart stopped. It was so frightening.
Wait, so did he look like a human with a skin on, or
He
what did
looked
it look?
hairy. He looked hairy, and he had a pelt, an animal pelt on it, and he had a bare chest.
When was his chest hairy or
Hairy. His chest was hairy.
okay?
It was utterly terrifying because here's somebody who doesn't totally believe in that stuff, right? And
And wait,
so
wait, did his face look like a completely like human face, or did
it
he
looked like
have?
a human face with kind of a lot of hair. Navajos don't have hair. I mean,
What
a
do you
real,
mean, like facial hair?
yeah, facial hair. Navajos, a real traditional 100% Navajos don't have facial hairs. You see them now because they've mixed with white people and Mexicans and stuff. But the really traditional, the kids that I knew, they grew up with no facial hairs. And
Okay, so you have this hairy chest and face person with this. It looked like a skin of an
an
animal
animal skin, and
looking straight at you.
bare chested, and he's looking straight at me. And when he looked straight into my eyes, and I thought I was gonna die. I was so
What did
scared.
you do?
I, I I just couldn't breathe, and I just sat there, just so shocked. And he disappeared. He
Did he just leapt off your
leapt
car?
off the thing, and then he was gone in the darkness.
Okay.
Okay, so that's experience one. Experience two was not so close contact. It was from a distance, but still terrifying. So I had been on the reservation quite a while, and there were some student teachers that came from, they were Mormons from Utah, and there's about 6 of them, and they were all girls, young women, and they had told me they wanted me to take them into the canyon. And I said I would. And then one night they knocked on my door, and they said, and it was a full moon and everything. And my students said, never go into the canyon at night. They said that's when you'll for sure run into one of those things.
And
And
was
I
the full moon significant at all, or no?
not really, but for me it was,
Mm,
because it sort of gives a weird light. It gives a very weird light.
okay.
And so they said, I said, will they hurt me? And they said, they won't hurt you because you're white and you don't believe in all this stuff. And I said, oh, really? You mean they won't hurt me? I'm safe? And they said, well, if you accidentally run into one, then they'll hurt you. As long as you stay out of their way, they're not interested in you. And because you're white. And
But what were they interested in? Like what?
we're
What's?
interested in punishing Navajos who try to get success or get too many sheep, or because they're keeping them in line. They're keeping everybody equal. So that's one reason why Billy Begay didn't want me to point a finger at the first day in class and say, are you Billy Begay, with my pointed finger, because that singles him out for witchcraft. Navajos, those very traditional Navajos, don't want to stick out. White people like to stick out. They like to be the smartest, the richest, the most this, the
Mm,
most that. The traditional Navajos of that era did not want to stick out.
I see. So if you're like gallivanting around at night, there's probably something going on that you're not with your tribe of people. So this was kind of that's why if you're out at night doing whatever, you're probably lost your place among the oneness
Yeah,
of everything.
yeah.
Okay, got it. I
And
get it now.
and then they can get you in they're hidden by the darkness of night. They
And
can
what
do
do
that.
they do when they get you?
They make you sick. You get
What kind of
sick.
sick? Like
Like
die
some
sick?
sick that you need a medicine man. The white medicine doesn't do anything for their sickness. You have to get a ceremony.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. All right, cool. Continue, please.
Okay, so here's what happened. So those girls said, we're leaving tomorrow, and you said you'd take us. Can you take us now? And I said, it's nighttime. And they said, well, it's only 8 o'clock. Could please, we've been waiting for this. I said, oh my God, night, and they said, well, why is it a problem at night? And I said, well, I don't know. I just, okay, I'll take you. And so we hiked down, and then I said, oh my God, look over there. And on the other side of the canyon, up in a cave where you can't get, I've tried to get up there. You can't get up there. There's ancient toe holds from the ancient people, but they're all eroded. But there was a fire because you could see the light. And and I said to the girls, oh my God, somebody's over there in the cave. And they said, well, it's probably just a camper. I said, camp,
You
nobody's
can't
allowed
get
to
up
camp,
there, yeah.
and you can't get up there. And they weren't impressed. They just kept talking, chattering, and I was totally freaked out. And I kept looking at that fire, and all of a sudden I saw a shadow that was of a person that was distorted by the light, so it looked really tall and skinny. And it was dancing, like doing like some kind of dance up there. I could see the shadow. I couldn't see the person. I said, look at that. And they kind of, that sort of got their attention. That was weird. That was weird. So I said, we have to stop talking now, because we don't want, who's ever up there, we don't want them to hear us. And so the girls, they tried to quiet down. And then all of a sudden, there was a high-pitched eagle whistle. Like, it's from an eagle bone. They use it as a whistle. And then the fire went out and everything went quiet. And I said, stop. Something happened. I don't know what happened, but something's going on the other side of the canyon. And so they stopped, and we sat on a rock, and we just watched. And I said, I'm not going any further. So we're just going to stay here. And then, it was night, dark. And then all of a sudden, there was this huge ruckus. There was an old grandmother who lived alone with her sheep and her dogs. And the dogs went crazy. And the sheep started making noise, and like they were stampeding or something. And the dogs just went nuts. I said, something really bad is going on. I don't know what it is. And so now the girls were scared. And then that ruckus stopped, and it was complete silence. And then what I saw was so weird. I saw this thing, person, animal, I have no idea, but it was the size of a pony, a small pony.
Whoa.
Or a very large dog, a bit like a Great Dane dog, or a pony, and it was loping along.
Oh my God.
And it had a pelt on its back, and it had no shirt. And I said, do you see what that is? That's a werewolf. And they freaked out, and we ran so fast up the thing, we almost peed our pants. And so I said, you see what I mean? And so we got out of there so fast. That was so scary.
But didn't you circle back with a friend to see it
So
again?
here's what happened. I couldn't sleep. I had so much adrenaline. I could not sleep. So I had a friend in the public school. He was a teacher there. I forgot his name. I'll just call him John. So I knocked on his trailer door. So now it's like really late. And I said, are you up? And he said, yeah, I'm up grading papers. He said, come on in. So I said, oh God, you're not going to believe what happened. And so I told him, and he didn't believe me. He said I had a good imagination. oh my God, that really hurt my feelings. And so I was so offended that he didn't believe me that I said, I being not believed is worse for me than being afraid. And so I said, you, I'm gonna take you there, and you can see for yourself.
Right.
I believe I said that, and he said, sure, okay. He thought I was just completely lost it. So we went there. We hiked down, and he said, see, there's nothing going on. And it looked like, yeah, I guess, looks like nothing going on. And then we crossed this cornfield, and it made so much noise, crunch, crunch, crunch. I said, be quiet. And he said, well, there's nothing to be quiet about. And then he went ahead, and there was like a scree slope going up to the wall, like, lots of loose rocks going up like a fan, and then the straight wall up, and then the cave.
Yeah.
So he started going up, and then he heard a noise in the cave, and he said, what was that? I said, that's
That's the guy.
so, and he said, no, it's a mountain lion. I said, listen, there are no mountain lions in Canyon de Chelly. I know that because if you read a chapter in the story, I had a very close encounter with a mountain lion who sniffed me in my sleeping bag. And so I became obsessed about mountain lions. I knew every place where they tended to hang out, and they did not hang out there. I said, no, there's no mountain lions there. And he started walking up again. And then a voice boomed out, get the fuck out of here, white boy. And he almost passed out. He almost fell. He fell on. He was so scared. And we're both running with our backs arched, like there's somebody going to grab us any minute. We flew up the canyon to our car, and we didn't say a word to each other.
Oh
But
my
at least
gosh.
I got believed. I mean, I got my
Okay,
credibility.
so what? Okay, you're a doctor. You're a medical doctor. You've seen all these things. I know people. What do you think happens? I mean, I know that's the lore that there are people who, but you've seen it twice, and you've heard stories. I mean, what is your conclusion?
I think this kids, I asked that same, I said, look, I'm white. I don't understand this. Can you kind of try to explain it kind of from my point of view? Try your best. And they said that these are people who've done something really sinful by Navajo standards, and that means they've killed a relative. That's the worst
Oh.
possible thing you can do in traditional Navajo culture, is to kill a relative. They are totally clan oriented. If you do that, you're the devil. And so they
Mm,
turn into evil people because they've been
mm,
basically kicked out, and
mm.
they become evildoers, and they do it in the guise of like looking like a werewolf, to, I think, this is my interpretation, to freak everybody out, keep everybody
Away from them.
away from them, keep people afraid and stuff like that.
But how do you explain the hair that you normally didn't see?
I don't know.
It's
I
still
don't,
an enigma to me.
CJ, I want to tell you, it wasn't only freakish things I can't explain. There were some miraculous things that I can't explain that were so profound, and no amount of science could help me out in trying to explain it. And I tried to tell some
Wait,
of.
and actually, what I want to do in the next segment is talk about that. So, I mean, that the shape-shifting thing was enough to like, what? I've always wondered about that. So I'm just so enamored with your story. We've been talking to Dr. Erica Elliott about her book, Medicine and Miracles in the High Desert, My Life Among the Navajo People. And we're going to be talking about the other miracles that you witness in the third segment. Thank you so much.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.